I feel like I had on Saturday or something, I had a really funny idea for just, I don't know. I think it was generally, the idea is we talked about nothing for a long time. I can't remember what. You're going to have to believe me, though, because I don't remember what the hell it was.
For this podcast?
Yeah.
You had an idea and you don't remember?
Yeah, exactly.
Cool.
Did you make the Price is Right drill beat?
I'm working on it. It's kind of hard because it's in a major key and like,
Oh, yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
Is that against the rules for drill?
Most drill
major
music's
key.
pretty sad.
Yeah. Did I?
Now I can't even remember what the
Posted about it
conversation
anywhere?
was that led us to talking about that the other night.
I just see in our group chat notes.
Oh no, I think we were walking through like the tailgates and somebody at one of the tailgates was playing the Price is Right music for some reason, like it was a rager. I was like, I actually would like to party to that. Like,
What is the Price is Right music?
The listeners will hear it as a drill beat.
It's just in the parking lot.
On the spot.
I just see the
dice
message
spin.
from Cork in the 202 group chat being like, Price is Right drill beat.
This makes me want. Maybe I said that. Right before, I don't know.
Yeah, come on down.
It's Alex!
Well, it's episode 236 of View from 202, and we're back. We've all visited RBA again in this year, 2023.
it's still there.
Still there. We're back. The Red Bulls are back with a point. We've all seen them with our own very eyes. We can confirm the Red Bulls still exist and they're still playing. What was it like to be back in Red Bull Arena for you guys for the first 7 months? Was it a welcome occasion? Was it all right? Was it eerie? Was it, I don't know, anything in between?
It was nice that the floor that they put down last year was not sticky anymore. That stood out for me.
Yeah, I didn't think about that.
I didn't notice that.
I mean, you know, I'm sure that's the amenity that they've been putting the most elbow grease into. So,
Well, I think that's one of those things that settles in, like, or like it, like, you know, it has a patina or something over time.
I know,
Yeah.
I'm joking.
Yeah, yeah.
I wasn't actually like.
Sean
doing a
Davis said
serious
that he went
analysis,
to
but-
Nashville and they had the stickiest floor he'd ever seen. And
Yeah.
he said, that's it.
Yeah,
I'm
I mean,
coming here.
It's a bigger league now.
Yep.
I got the last 3 empanadas at Brit before the game. So
They sold out?
Yeah.
Wow.
Reese's even though they're the old baby of RBA concourse food.
I didn't even
Like,
think about getting the new
Right.
food.
Yeah.
It just didn't even
Right.
cross my mind.
We, when we were crossing around, Briasos's line was not looking the way it once did.
compared to the like Korean barbecue and
Yeah,
all
I
the
didn't
new
even
stuff that's
notice
out.
Brit sauce. I was too distracted by petite greens.
I wonder what that must be.
Must be petite greens.
Must be petite greens. For a second, I thought they might be grand, greens, but
I did.
That's the Quebec version. Big no, it's called big salad in Quebec.
yeah,
Or little salad. Little salad. In
little
Quebec.
salad hot dog.
Yeah. But here in the States, where we have to be classy, and it's called petite greens.
Yeah.
The
In France, it's called green food.
I ordered on the app. I ordered one souvenir, season-long cup. But it charged.
Back at it again.
The saga begins.
But it charged me for 2, so I actually had a long deal trying to get my second one refunded.
How much is a season cup?
That's $40.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I feel like that's higher than Seasons Pass.
No, it's the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
we're
wouldn't
gonna do
know.
this again.
I wouldn't know. I
This
still
is-
found my way into the ivory tower for this game. But
Oh yeah. Were the prawn sandwiches improved this year?
I mean, it was busier. There were more prawn sandwiches being moved.
Nice.
So we'll see if that holds up. But yeah,
I can't believe you got another refillable. This is such a bad portent, such a bad omen. Like
the only reason is because RBA now lets in bags again, I guess, generally. So I just have like something.
Also,
to carry in.
you learned very well also that you can just walk up to those things and fill up anything with them. No, there's no one watching. There's no one who cares.
That is theft, Brit.
We don't approve of that.
I'm just saying that if we're in ancient Rome right now, that like temple authorities would be dragging you to the Colosseum because like you've just read the bird sides like in a very portentous way. Like you've just opened up, the cow's guts, and it's really said something bad. I feel like the fact that you bought this, viewers might remember, listeners might remember the last time Peaches bought a refillable cup for $40. The novel coronavirus was then born. So
maybe I'm trying to force something this time around.
Yeah, Jesus.
I also got the popcorn chicken mac and cheese.
How was that?
Small.
It looked pretty nasty.
It was
Not nasty, but it looked like freezer food.
I mean, it's Delaware North. I mean, what more can you expect? The mac and cheese, I'd have to say the pasta portion of it, surprisingly al dente for what it was.
Yeah, good for them.
I think the cheese...
And that was good? You liked that?
I like the texture of the pasta when I had it. Maybe it's because it's the first time. It might sit out for a little bit in the summer or something. Don't know how that's gonna last.
Okay.
But I'll say that the sauce was a little it had a little too much, so it was a little soupy, but also like it was like thick because it had an emulsifier. But like that emulsifier was probably like sodium citrate or something like Velveeta or like American cheese. Very tangy. To the point where it was like a little acrid for my tastes. So like a little overwhelming in the cheese sauce, I'd say, compared to the proportion of pasta. The popcorn chicken is basically what you would get in a middle school cafeteria. Over-seasoned, highly breaded, not much chicken. But all in all, for stadium food, I'd say like pretty good, 7 out of 10.
I feel like the listener should really know that as Peaches is giving us this very detailed review, Luna, his dog, is just going to town on a bone in his hand, just right by his side, just absolutely munching. Really paints the full picture for me. Yeah, it sounds about right. Yeah. I don't know if I will ever try the salad. Because, I mean, I guess I don't need to, because I know it's salad.
It must be.
Yeah, it must.
I was saying, as a student of the new menu at RBA,
yeah,
I was looking at it, and there, the most interesting parts of the menu were to me like the filet mignon sandwich or the French dip, but that's only available in the exclusive Bulls corner. So if anyone,
what is that?
I think that's just like the VIP lounge or something. I guess. But
Cork, can you get in there with the little pass?
Maybe
Flash a pass.
I was just gonna, like if anyone at the club is listening, if you want to give me like a food tour, I would give more favorable reviews.
We saw that they put a permanent signage on the bodega, but it's just called bodega, which it should be, as we were saying,
gourmet deli.
It should be like Red Bull's Meat Corp.
Yeah.
Red Bull's Meat and Drink Corp.
Grocery deli.
7783 RB Meat Corp.
Yeah,
that's so. Yeah, like no one actually says bodega on the bodega
with like a New York lottery sticker on the front.
They should play the call of prayer at Brit's time too,
and sell blunt wraps.
That would go so hard. Actually, I'm just like halfway through the match, the call of prayer right now.
Just like oh my god, just like mixed nuts and also like bootleg boner pills.
God, yeah.
Welcome to the show. Yeah, so, much the same. It's still friendly old RBA. A couple more buildings are up. We had a bit of a crew going there in 202 for a second, I have to say.
Yeah.
It was my first time. Unlike you imposters, all three of you, I was sitting in my correct section because for the first time ever, I bought my season ticket on Friday. I am now truly a 202 season ticket holder. Unlike you, Ragamuffins.
I don't know why you have to blow up everyone's spot like that.
I feel like this was known. I don't know. I will say that makes me realize we we sort of might have doxed you in a previous episode when we talked about what kind of business is across the street from you, because there can't be that many nearby. But I won't say it again.
The GeoGuessr guy is gonna fucking get his ass.
Oh, he's got him immediately. Yeah, he's coming in already. But
that'll take him fucking like 15 seconds tops.
oh yeah, absolutely.
Maybe they'll just think I live in Manhattan and I live across from.
Oh,
Nope,
yeah, good point.
nope. Downtown Brooklyn looks too much like Charlotte. It's like, sorry, like you can tell the difference.
Yeah, that would be the thing that crosses him up. He would select Charlotte.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the Rebels did play Nashville, 0-0. Right? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Couldn't
Must
be
be
anything else.
solid.
Yeah, must be 0-0. And same lineup as the first week of the season. No changes. Although we do see two season debuts for two new names. And I guess a debut for Kyle Duncan, too, when he comes in, although he's a familiar face. We see Corey Burke and Dante Van
Kyle
Zier.
Duncan's third debut.
Yeah. He's going for the world record number of debuts with the same club.
Yeah, he's gonna be the Kai Kamara, but they debuts for the same club.
Yeah. And still 4-4-2-2 system, really all throughout. I don't know. What there's not even any goals to hang our hats on here to like guide this chronology of the game. Any thoughts on seeing this system in person, seeing how the sausage was made right in front of us?
It was kind of, I mean, maybe you could have predicted this, and maybe we did a little bit in last week's show, but it was kind of a immovable force meets or immovable object meets unstoppable force. Sorry, with a obviously high pressing system, extreme high pressing system, versus a team that makes its money kind of sitting back and playing the counter, playing conservatively, and we saw pretty much that kind of game play out. It was a pretty dull, pretty choppy game. You could almost definitely say that Red Bulls had the better of play as far as just kind of generating action in the final third, and then in the second half you got into a little bit of a wave of chances after chances, but the first half. And maybe this becomes or has been a theme and becomes a theme for this year as well, where they didn't score. They were kind of, on the front foot for the first 10, 15 minutes, but didn't score. They had the one chance where Tolgan was able to get that rebound, but kind of blasted it right at Joe Willis. And after that, the team kind of deflated a little bit for the rest of the half. There was a little bit, like I said, action in the second when subs started happening and things got a little bit disheveled. There's some chances created, but otherwise just it's another game where it seems like the schematic of having the team kind of jump out and take a game by the neck early is a very kind of precarious, thin margin sort of way to play, where if you don't get that goal, if you don't, actually create some chaos in the first half, you become very susceptible to losing the kind of energy and edge you need to play the way this team, needs to play tactically. So, I guess that's sort of my broad and overwrought take on the game.
Part of me was hoping that you'd walk in and it'd be a totally different kind of energy at home from the players, from Struber, from others. But like, if you were to watch this game, without your glasses on, like not looking at like all of the details, looking at the 4-2-2-2, like of it all, like I don't really see a huge difference from like how we approached the games from last year. Totally. It really just feels like a continuation from where we left it off.
See, I feel like I disagree with that, actually. I feel like we, as a team, to me, felt like we looked a lot better in a lot of ways where I think this 2-forward formation suits kind of the forwards more, at least in kind of generating chances. But also like in the grand scheme of things, it also wasn't enough to, win.
But like,
right?
what chance? I don't know. I didn't feel like there were a tremendous amount of chances generated. I think Burke looked good up top. I think that Barlow, I think like you just kind of, the more you watch him and the more you watch other people relative to him, you realize he just like shouldn't be starting. and Manuel just didn't, he's just,
Yeah, rough game.
Clumsy.
Rough game.
I mean, I agree, but I also just think that we don't have those Manuel one-on-ones last year the way that we did this year.
I mean,
you could see some of the skeleton of the way the team wants to approach offense differently this year in terms of, and I kind of mentioned this last week based on the Orlando game, where there's just, two strikers, two wingers, and then fullbacks. It provides, three dimensions of overlaps to run. And honestly, in this game, you could almost see that being overdone, where it was a little bit different from the Orlando game and a lot of games throughout the last few years where the team is like very hesitant on the ball, where the team waits, where guys get the ball and are, very hesitant and unsure about where to take it next or, where their teammates are. And then in this game, it seemed like they were very, kind of drilled and on the same page with each other, but that page was just waiting for somebody to run around you on the overlap every time you got the ball. And eventually that became, fairly predictable and static. And yeah, I mean, it created a few chances where a player was kind of able to cut in from, kind of the side of the box. Some of them more clear than others. There was the one Elias Manuel chance that was probably, the closest one or the clearest one for a goal. And he just kind of hit it right at Willis again. And, kind of, like is, sort of a refrain on this show, regardless of the personnel. It seems like another game where, the chances, there's a few chances here or there, but they're very kind of limp chances, and the forward doesn't really do anything with it. And, that's our entire swing at a game, and there's not much else there.
Yeah, it felt like Cameron Harper and even Kyle Duncan, when he came in, were able to, pull a move off and like get around their defender once or twice, but like none of the forwards were like making a near post run or anything like that. Like there was nothing to do with the ball after that. It was sort of painful to watch.
Right. I was gonna say it didn't feel right to say it felt over rehearsed, but it felt very mechanical. You know what I mean?
It's just, we've said this before. It's just a little ugly. It's boring. Yeah. It's not great.
Well, I was gonna say, like, to me, like what I was kind of hoping for maybe as a development is kind of more shifts in tempo as we're playing. And I do think that like we had triggers, and like as you were saying, Cork, like we're seeing how we kind of want to play. It's just not nice yet, or like maybe.
I would agree. I think also that we looked less worse than week one. Or we looked, maybe I'll even say better than we did in week one. But I think also, like, even maybe as you were saying, still agree kind of with Sam's assessment that, like, it still represents continuity to me more than it does, like, something actually new. Yeah.
I mean, ultimately, we didn't end up scoring, so it doesn't really matter. Right?
Yeah, to me, it's, like, apparent that
this was a very spring 2022 home game.
Yeah. And that, like, attacking ideas are, I think, not at the forefront of our training sessions. I'll just say that. I don't know. Like, I don't know if that's really the specialty or emphasis of this regime.
I do think like the Manuel chances should have been rehearsed enough where one of those, at no point was he really expecting another runner to do a cutback. So he never
That's true.
did
I'm
it.
surprised he didn't cut back the ball once, But I guess in that way, it also felt like a sort of typical Struber performance from the team, where it was a game that felt like it really depended on individual quality. Like, I'm kind of leaning into this idea we fell into last week about, like, when are we going to score our first tap in, right? Like, this felt like a game that the only way we were going to score is from, like, a really good finish from a player, like a Manuel on one of those chances, when it's like, ideally, your forward does not need to pull out like the best finish of their life every week to win a game or to score any goals, you know?
Right.
So yeah, it
reminds me of my favorite of our greatest striker.
Who?
Our Tappan merchant striker, Bradley Wright Phillips.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I thought you were taking the piss.
No.
I see. Yeah.
I mean, I was like a little bit, but
Okay. Yeah. I will say Corey Burke looked really good, but I don't know if that is just because he came in for Tom Barlow, who
Had a
Definitely.
shocker, let's be honest.
Yeah.
Like, as much as we don't, as we always say, as we always disclaim, we don't like to pile on Tom Barlow, but this was not a very dignified outing.
it also does make me just like doubt the judgment of the manager who continues to think he's the best fit for some reason. Not that that will be news to any of the listeners that I doubt Struber's judgment, but like what if his vision is something that is best achieved by Tom Barlow? What does that say about the vision? Like, what the hell is
And why has it taken 3 years for us to not find the supposed better version of Tom Barlow? Because we've had Fabio, we've had Fletcher, we might see Burke get a run here, but it's just like, I don't know, man. I think there might be something else not adding up here besides the constantly shifting personnel.
Burke was great though.
Yeah,
I thought like
Burke. It kind of looked like Lucanius did for the first 2 weeks before he got to train with the team for longer.
a different kind of player. Though.
Yeah, definitely. But I'm just
like,
getting a shot in.
I don't know if you were just like, if you're, I'm hoping maybe it's like Corey Burke is just really good and Philly, just let go of someone really, valuable. But when you were like, oh, he just does things that like a striker should do, I was like, a little bit, yeah.
It's our frame of reference. I mean, that's got to be it for me. What we've just been used to up there. And I think Barlow is the frame of reference.
I feel like it's kind of like when you're, got used to like chopping vegetables by hand with a tiny, crappy little knife, and then you finally like get a grater or something, or like a mandolin, and you're like, oh my God, this thing just slices it. It's so easy. I feel like that's what the difference was on Saturday a bit. Look, Tom, you seem nice, I guess, but like, what? Also, I don't know. Struber just makes it feel like he talks as though he's trying to like solve chess or like invent nuclear cold fission. It's like not that complicated to score goal. I'm not a professional. I can't walk in and do it. But like a lot of other people have done this football managing thing and like found a way to score goals. So
The Colorado Rapids scored 5 goals on us last year.
yeah.
It's not that hard.
It's not
Also, like, I feel like at some of this point we should design a set piece that could get a goal to.
God.
I don't even want to talk about those.
That's
fucking bad.
I mean, that's a good time though, because there's been a little outcropping of like Spurs discourse on the timeline. Like Tifo did a video that I thought was pretty interesting, talking about Conte's Spurs, and I gotta say, it sounded a lot like salad to me over in Tottenham right now. But one element of that was like a shocking amount of Conte's Spurs goals are set pieces, and basically just like Kane hero ball, and like Kane being really good and hitting wonder strikes, which sounds a bit like Lewis Morgan 2022.
Lucanius Son Heung-min.
Yeah. So I won't, it would be impossible for me to actually just relitigate that whole video, but I do recommend, I think it's the Tifo IRL series that they did on Conte's Spurs. It's not a 1-to-1 comparison, but I think it was, it seemed like a very good sort of parallel kind of situation where they've got this sort of conservative system, and the manager's attitudes about his own squad and the way to build it seems to have dug the club into a position where he feels like he taking any sort of step in either direction to be more daring with the ball, or lock down further, feels like, impossible. Feels like you're stuck in this in-between spot, and it's good enough to get 4th place for them right now, but nothing bigger but also nothing, worse. There's still a decently high floor, which sounds a lot like the current Red Bulls system right now.
Oh, and he also complains about his players. Or like, yeah, that. I didn't even know about this about him in Tottenham, but he did this at Chelsea as well. So.
Yeah. Well, Sass had a good point too, where he said he thinks it comes from Conte's attitude that he thinks Spurs is sort of below him, and he's sort of frustrated at the situation too. So, which, but I think it was made me feel less alone. I'll say that. Say that.
Do we know Struber has any kind of like weird, like extreme fitness kind of obsession?
Oh yeah. I mean, you've seen him drink water, right? But also, he's like a maniacal jogger.
Yeah.
So.
No, but like, how he, like, Conte imposes like 5-a-day trainings on his.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he's Gerhard Struber. Yeah. I mean, I do believe that this press conference after the match also mirrored previous ones where it's like, before the match, he was also saying the boys need more effort. It's like, I don't really think effort is what they're missing, Like, maybe they need a little creativity and like off the ball runs and link up play. I will say the link up play was marginally better this week. And I do think, Luquinhas, lo and behold, did not have as bad of a week as he did week one. I think week one, he was uniquely just having a bad day. He was a little bit more involved, had a couple good turns, was kind of chased down, though, most of the time. His acceleration isn't really a strong suit. But him, Frankie, and to a lesser extent, CCJ got a little bit more involved. It was mostly kind of cycling the ball around.
That's what I mean about just kind of waiting for overlaps.
Yeah,
waiting for Struber always mentions overloads. That's the only kind of concrete attacking strategy he ever lays out publicly, is that he just wants to create wide overloads, and you see that, but it's just so kind of not predictable and just
too far away.
Yeah, just not seamless. And it's week 2 of 2023, but it's also season 3 of Struber drilling his tactics to the exclusion of all other motivations. So I don't know. I maybe we should save this for some of the questions we have later. But I mean, it's just it's 1 point after the first 2 weeks of the season, and I mean, it needs to be better than that if against teams like Nashville and Orlando. If the team's actually going to challenge for trophies this year.
And Nashville was missing Mukhtar for he
didn't start
for the first half of the game, and he's like their entire attack.
But Alex Mueller was much better. Let's be real.
Yeah, he almost scored.
He was so good. Watching Alex Mueller was very impressive to me.
And they played with Teal Bunbury for 60 minutes. Too.
Yeah, but I don't know why I'm weirdly more optimistic as time has gone on, but I also felt like CCJ I could kind of understand him better more than I've understood him before.
I think, to air that out a bit, I think the line that I landed on after the game in our group chat was that it gave me...
Oh, we have a group chat?
Oh, yeah, but dude. I usually refuse to look at you guys until I show up. Actually, it is kind of it is annoying when we hang out before the podcast because I feel like I waste all of our hilarious stories off mic. So, subscribe to the Patreon where you get to follow us around in person and see how cool we are. The line that I had in our group chat, I think, was that this gives me a slight glimmer of hope that this will potentially create a situation where the players can just make something up on their own and maybe sort of disobey the manager, and just kind of cook on their own. Which is, I think, the only way we're going to get any sort of creative attacking play, because I think Gerhard Struber has no good attacking ideas. I'm sorry to say, but...
You're making me think of the One Piece meme that's just like, oh, no, he ain't cooking.
Yeah. So I don't think it's really his strong suit. I think he'd be an exceptional manager at getting teams to avoid getting relegated, but that's kind of below our station in this league. So maybe, Barnsley is a better fit for him. I think he'd be great at that. But, it is week 2. Yeah, Leeds, maybe. That could work. But, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if there's anything else we want to get at from the game itself besides, I guess, Lewis Morgan was pulled at halftime.
Yeah, he did look poor.
Why? I guess it didn't really come up in the press conference or anything, so we'll find out later this week what that was all about.
By the way, what publication are you with on your press band?
Which one are we all on right now?
Is it
The Coos, what was it?
Oh, that's right. Well, I'm with Zuma Press.
Zuma, yeah,
temporarily.
We're under
but-
the Zuma umbrella
Yeah,
now.
but
we were gonna apply for a press pass, but we had to rededicate our funds to the
Weather
surveillance balloon.
Yeah, this is actually
Which, as you all, everyone listened to EDSS and knows, we are still sending the payments.
right, but this is a big announcement because the video version of this podcast is now exclusively available on Rumble.
I don't even know what that is.
Yeah.
What is that?
It's the thing that Steven Crowder just signed with.
Who is that? Is this?
He's
Can
the
I watch
Arthur guy. Don't
Boy,
worry.
the
Yeah,
Arthur guy?
that's-
Like PBS?
No.
that's
it's
you
a long podcast.
You really took that way out of bounds.
Can I watch this on Roku?
But Morgan,
Hey.
I guess we were talking about.
Dante Van Zier debut.
Yeah.
People were excited, and
I hope for more from him.
yeah,
He's a shirt tucked in kind of guy.
Yeah.
Didn't realize that.
Raw, maybe, yeah.
dude, Dante should come to DSA League. We would fucking tear up together. We would have a
Needs to
great time.
get his confidence up.
I mean, it works for me. I feel like it's really spread into other parts of my life too. Like just like tearing up DSA League a little bit. Just I think it's really benefited. Maybe done like Chelsea. Well, I guess we can't promise which park we'll be at. We don't know anymore. But Dante,
Sarah
think about
Roosevelt. We're back. I
Sarah
think.
Roosevelt Park. All right, Dante, swing through Sarah Roosevelt Park sometime on Saturday. It's a public park. I'm not doxing anyone. Just show up. Get a couple goals in. Because practice trapping the ball a bit. It was
Dante Van Zier, yeah.
a little rough. We're wanting to be a little bit gentle, but a bit of a strange debut. To put it lightly, like I don't know, folks. He just like botched several touches in a way where I was like, usually don't see that. But week one, maybe it was nerves. We'll see.
Hopefully, it's a short memory.
Yeah, I mean, you don't. Okay, I'm gonna stop myself. Don't want to be too much of a smartass, but it was a bit of a weird debut, I will say. And hopefully he can get some more minutes and find his footing and won't, be banished. But between Corey Burke and Dante Van Zier, I think an interesting set of options that we saw this week. I would hope that Corey Burke starts next week. Definitely. I think somebody was commenting that maybe his role, he was particularly effective as a super sub, but I don't know. Let's see him as a starter. It's not like we've got much to lose in terms of attacking output right now.
How long do you think we keep up this 4-2-2-2?
Good question.
What do we? I mean, I feel like at a certain point we're just gonna have Van Zier drop, and we might go. I don't even know what we would do, but curious to hear what you guys think.
We haven't had a catastrophic result with it yet, in the eyes of probably those who are assessing the success of this season.
It would be funny if this is the one system that sticks for some reason.
Yeah.
I do think that we need somebody closer. Like Lucanius needs to be closer to other players. Like he's just out totally on his own. We need more bodies in the center of the pitch, I think. I assume we're gonna go at least another month or two.
It's gonna
Of
disappear
this, right?
mysteriously like the Diamond did 2 years ago.
Yeah, it is a good. What would even be next? I don't know.
I feel like the Diamond could work with this squad.
I'm
looking at the team. I'm like, oh, actually.
Yeah, like Frankie at the base,
Yeah.
or Frankie, or maybe even Edelman when he gets fully fit, and CCJ, and I guess Drew's hurt right now, right? But
He'll be back, presumably. We have enough midfielders to make
Yeah.
it work.
I think in a Diamond, I might where do you fit Lewis Morgan in a Diamond though right now? I'm indulging this digression because I think it's nice to think positively
I
about
feel
the
like
future of this
maybe
team, you know?
at the tip of the diamond or one of the two forwards.
Really?
Yeah, but I feel like Luquinhas is honestly one of the shuttlers in this role, maybe, or replacing him with someone else on the squad.
Is he strong enough defensively, though, or does he have enough of a motor? I don't know
He
if
kind
he
of played
does.
further back this week, right?
Yeah, he's not very strong on the ball, though.
Yeah, that's true.
But, I mean, Tolkien would be the left back. The right back, I think... I mean, Harper maybe would be able to still play in that.
Yeah.
And then, like, having... I think Burke and... Van Zier is like the parent, assuming that Dante comes around, you know?
Yeah.
That could work. Or I would be willing to try it, is the next idea.
It doesn't have to have that much of a shift, just,
Yeah.
like kind of...
I mean, do we have any sense of Edelman and Drew's fitness, for that matter? I don't know if we do.
Edelman was on the bench, right? And Drew was out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say Edelman had a great Lydia Tarr costume for the red carpet. Really killed it. Definitely the highlight of my day. Were you at the red carpet? I was at my usual 6.5 minutes late. So
Peaches and I kind of scoped out the scene. We
were there when it happened, but...
we almost got like caught in the crush.
Yeah.
But,
it was a big crowd. I think it was like smartly set up in a way where even if a lot of people weren't there, the pictures might have made it look full. But honestly, looking at the video, it was fuller than the video made it look, in my opinion.
wow. All right.
and it's just a good exercise. I think, there's some trickle effect of just kind of getting people to the stadium earlier
yeah.
and just like involved with whatever's going on and just a chance to get in their seats earlier. Cause I mean, it's just old man gripe of mine going back to my days working in the soccer industry is that it's just like you see so many games, and RBA is certainly not exempt, where people are just like walking around the concourse during the game. Like, the stadium looks empty, but part of that is because people are just like fumbling around, going to the bathroom, getting beer or whatever. And it's just like, we're only asking for, 45-minute halves of your time.
Right.
Just sit down. And, this kind of helps with that maybe a little bit. But man, RBA it wasn't full. I mean, it obviously wasn't a full crowd, but it was packed on the concourses.
Yeah.
Like,
I don't know. That was a bit strange. Like
it's a tough arena to pull off what I was just talking about in.
Right. And I will say the South Ward sounded good and seemed more full this year, which like makes me think that this might just be the first full like COVID bounce back year, maybe. Like I think, last year it seems like maybe the people's routines were still off, but it seems like there is some more people just kind of getting back in the groove. It was the first home game, so we'll see. The crowd was pretty standard, which is not bad for a early March kickoff, against a sort of...
Especially when it was that cold. Or like predicted to be that cold for the weekend.
Yeah, but it was against like a sort of, not that interesting opponent. That's not commenting on Nashville's, skill
I
as a
mean, like
team,
it was
but,
scheduled to be like, or the forecast was pretty cold for the game, so I'm surprised that like...
Yeah, we're bearing the lead that Edie Falco was there. Killing it.
I didn't even use that as a draw.
I know if they're saving that for when Dr. Melfi shows up. That was what I was gonna joke about. I was like, guys, we should do like a straight-faced 60 minutes talking about how badly we want Dr. Melfi to fix us, like with zero sense of irony. Just like four guys in their 30s. I know you guys aren't in your 30s, but for this bit, you were in your 30s talking about how badly we want Jennifer Melfi to fix us, and then just ending the episode. So let's restart now. We're gonna do that. But another big thing we buried the lead on. Reyes is starting a beard. Reports say that he had a bit of a goatee going. I also was walking on the concourse, and I swear to God, I saw bearded Reyes walking on the concourse, separately from unbearded Reyes on the field.
It's gonna be like those posts you see where it's like they have like photos from like the 30s of like, you know, a baseball game or something, and there's some person who looks like strangely modern sitting in the crowd. It's like, wow, time traveler.
Keanu Reeves or whatever.
Now you're just gonna be like, you know, uncannily like looking at any photo of a crowd you see, and even if it's not actually there, you're gonna see bearded Reyes.
Yeah, in the background of the Overlook Hotel.
Yeah, exactly.
He's always been there. All right, we saw the kit in person too. Now, it's still, I don't know if it's grown on me more since the first week, but I'm still, you know, in aggregate compared to when it was first released, I still hate it less, I will say. But people seem to, I don't know, not many people were wearing it. I guess it's cold, so people were bundled up. It was a bit odd to wear a yellow kit against a yellow team.
Yeah, especially when the hats got flipped over, especially when we got our reverse.
The other side of the hat was literally Nashville
like
colors.
Nashville colors.
That is funny.
Which is why I turned it into the rally cap. But
I think the kits are like a 4 out of 10. That's where my assessment of them lie.
wow.
Damn.
I went.
It's like not that bad, you know. It's like almost average.
That's below average.
That's
literally.
below
You know what
below
math
average, but
works?
it's like almost average, you know.
Literally
The way
failing
that I've been
grade.
talking about has been very negative, you know.
Okay.
I went by the Soho Adidas shop the other day, and they have a big old RBNY display with both the yellow and red jerseys and a large Frankie Amaya propaganda photo, and then NYCFC just has like a pissy little rack in the corner on there with their kit looks terrible in person.
Oh, I was gonna say, who
Not even
is
being
their
petty.
hero like
Like,
player anymore?
They just had a picture of some model. Like it wasn't. They didn't even have a player shot.
Chanot is still there, right? He's the only guy.
He's still there. Wow.
I don't know. I'm not totally sure.
Oh.
But in other news, I think the Mets have put in a bid for a casino at Willets Point, the place they're supposed to be building a stadium. I've been doing a lot of stuff related to that for work, different casino bids, and it's funny that literally no one is acknowledging that the mayor has literally announced they're supposed to be building a stadium there. No one has talked about it at all. It's like it didn't happen. So, you know, knock on wood. But, you know, among things that are definitely happening seems to be, you know, that seems to be top of the list.
What could the Queens community do to prevent the NYCFC stadium from happening?
How much time you got? But hey, it was done once. It can be done again. So should we move to our questions that we got this week? So it was just on Twitter, right? Did we get any emails?
I didn't check the email.
That's old. Email's obsolete. You
Yeah.
know, and let's be real.
Yeah. So
Slide into the DMs.
Yeah, but if you mail PO Box 001,
Oh yeah, Melville, New York.
send a postcard.
No CODs. 18 or older.
Uvis Druvis asks, it's at Yanni Turk. All right. Can we talk a bit about Harper's ascendancy at right back and how before the season started, it looked like an out-of-form Duncan and Dylan Nealis was all we were going to have over there. Now it looks like not a problem position at all. Thoughts? Do you think Cameron Harper will remain in this right back position, I guess?
I mean, that depends on how the manager feels, but
An interesting wrinkle as well is that Kyle Duncan came in and Cameron Harper pushed further up.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with the idea that I'm not necessarily as worried about right back as I was before.
Yeah.
But I am still worried about left back. But I think there's no reason not to see how high Cameron Harper's ceiling as a right back could be right now. You know.
Yeah, I will say it seems like this year so far less creative responsibility seems to be lying on the fullbacks, because that was one of the weirder things about last year, that it seemed like Struber was kind of relying on that to be really like the source of creativity and like overloads, as Cork was saying. But yet the squad or the club has been sort of ambivalent about recruiting players for that role. I mean, like Duncan is literally the same player from like 4 years ago, or like he's been at the club 4 or 5 years in different spurts.
And
Dylan Nealis
has been brought back twice, despite the fact that he was discretionarily not started in the playoffs.
Right.
Which we chose a right back or a center back who had never played.
Yeah, the fact that like Andres Reyes was played there at right back would also seem to suggest that Struber was not satisfied with her personnel there. Also, Tolkien, as we've said, while a very quality player in many ways, is not really necessarily skilled at whipping in across from the run of play.
Which I saw with my own eyes this
Yeah,
weekend.
you're just talking shit.
Oh,
It was all right. He only did it once.
yeah, but he did it.
Yeah, it's true. So yeah, it does seem like there's less responsibility following them so far. It did seem like there were more opportunities for CCJ and Lucchinius to try to facilitate play. As you said, it wasn't very convincing, but I guess I'll agree vaguely that Cameron Harper has been very solid, and it's encouraging to see a player who seemed to have been written off in his first full season here come back into the fold and kind of contribute. And it's kind of nice to just like have that kind of player on the squad. Like when Kevin Thelwell signed him, it was very much the vibe of like, oh, here's a guy who's cheap, domestic, and available, and is young. We can lock him up for a couple years. Why not have him? And I think we're bearing the fruits from those kind of decisions now, where it's like, this is a solid tool to have in a league, or a solid guy to have in a league like MLS, where you can sort of figure out a use for him, and he doesn't come at much opportunity cost. So yeah, I think it's a positive.
I think what I think everything you guys said covers kind of my take. I mean, especially where it's just kind of like, yeah, he's been very solid. I think I think it's almost boring to point out how solid he's been, and more interesting is the context of him, like you were saying, becoming the right back, the preferred right back after all of the kind of sturm and drang around that the last couple of years. So hopefully it continues working, but it's hard to predict that with this team lately. So
He is like in the season he was like in the doghouse. Didn't he come in as a sub and then he got pulled out?
Yes.
Yeah,
So to even come back from that to be where he is now, I'm very happy for
It's
him.
like Lance Stroll breaking his wrists and making it to P6 the next week or whatever.
Yeah, but Cameron Harper's dad does not own the team. That would help.
We don't know that.
I guess. Next question. Marco Antonio Greco asks, do you think there's a chance of seeing Van Zier play more minutes this Saturday than he did for the last match against Nashville? Good question. So it's interesting that he came in for Manuel, not... Well, I guess that's in line with what Cork has been telling us, that he's more the in the hole player. But an interesting thing about the partnership as well is that I think Corey Burke was really solid at like flicking on and facilitating play himself. But that said, despite not seeming to be that fast, I feel like we actually created much more dangerous transitions when Burke came on the field as well. And I don't know, maybe if part of that was an adjustment for the midfielders to just be a little bit quicker hitting long balls and for him to latch on to. But it would seem that Manuel is the competition for that slot rather than Barlow or Burke from what we've seen so far. And Elias Manuel has not shown super well so far this year. So even though Dante had a bit of a weird debut, I wouldn't think it's impossible that he gets a start or at least more minutes. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Well, I mean, I'm charitably looking that he's probably looking to fit more into the squad with more rep time and rehearse or practice and stuff like that. I don't know if this week is the week we see him start necessarily, but I feel like we'll definitely see more of him, throughout the season. Yeah, I don't know.
For context, he came on at the 76th minute on Saturday.
Yeah, so I think he'll get hopefully 20 minutes this week.
Wow.
Or more, That's more.
He's gonna get some minutes.
That's an above average increase in minutes.
Look, yeah,
If you
I'm
wanna
being
get
very relative this
ticky
season.
tack.
Yeah.
He'll get some minutes with Barlow. I feel like it'll be like something very frustrating. I'll just be like, God fucking damn it. So,
Next question from the owner of this podcast, Ben Meinstan. Should Lucchinius be a starter on this team? Can we consider him a flop signing? Thanks, been a fan since you guys started in '96.
Well, I mean, Lucchinius wasn't a starter, at points by the end of last year.
Yeah.
I mean, at least some of that supposedly was kind of injury and fitness issues, but nonetheless, there were, I think, more than one game last year where he, started on the bench. He was fit enough to dress, but did not start. So I think that seal's kind of been broken already, and maybe leaves an even thinner threshold for him to get pulled this year. It's not like we're necessarily overflowing with bodies in that area of the pitch, although Wiki Carmona is coming back to fitness. Here's a name some of the older Red Bulls fans might remember: Wiki Carmona. But
remember when you just played most of that season?
yeah, I do. And
I think it was a writer's strike issue.
But yeah, I mean, it obviously, I mean, the whole team, it has to be better than it has been the last couple of weeks if the expectations for this year are going to be lived up to. And, Lucchinius would be, one of the central figures in that dynamic. So
I don't think this is going to be maybe a surprise as we've been seeing this, but I think something to look out for might be that Cameron Harper might be in that role as well, right? Seeing how he's played.
there's a lot of, I mean, not a lot, but I mean, there's a few guys who you could maybe move around. I mean, Omir Fernandez,
Yes. Also made
was
his debut.
shown to still be alive in this game. And, I mean, like I said, I mean, there's been games. I mean, if Gerhard Struber is nothing if not brave enough to pull his star players, if the mood strikes him. So we'll see how it goes.
That reminds me, was it the end of 2021, I guess, when Omir was getting that run of play and we were combining a little bit, and it was like, oh yeah, huh. And my line on this was like, Omir's great, I love him, but he's not that rare of a type of player,
Right.
I feel like that way about what I was saying earlier about Struber's attitude towards attacking. Like, it's not trivial to just figure out a way to score goals, but it's not that rare either. Like, there's a lot of guys who kind of have the general profile of Omir Fernandez. There's a lot of teams that generally score goals a little bit more often than we do. It's not unheard of, or we've just thought of we have to completely think of the idea ourselves, invent the concept of a goal scoring team.
And I think that segues into another question.
Yes, and this is our final question. Nathan Howard asks, how do you balance our opponents haven't had any meaningful chances and we've taken 1 point out of 6 as a fan? Is the former just celebrating mediocrity, or can you pin some hope on it given Long's departure and that we've been starting a converted winger at right back?
Well, I think, I mean, that kind of piggybacks on what you were just saying, Brit, about kind of the great dialectic of soccer, which is, balancing your numbers attacking versus your numbers defending. And, obviously this is a team, certainly the last 2 years, by, the second half of the year when results are needed, Struber has, very explicitly reverted to a defensive first structure. And I think even when we're not in distress, this is a team that is focused on pressing and defending before building out the attack. And then, then in a vacuum, that's sound. That's sound soccer management. That's sound team building. That's how you get a good thing started, is by shoring up the back first. But like I said, it's a situation where even when the team's not in distress, even now that the team's been built out for 2 or 3 years, it seems to be an ideological decision to focus more on pressing and defending as opposed to getting players in the right place to attack. That's like I said, it's ideological. I mean, everybody has their opinion. As Harry Redknapp says, it's a game of opinions. But, it's like we've been saying, a little more explicitly on this episode, it's, kind of ugly soccer just from a, neutral entertainment perspective. And if, like Nathan said, it's only resulting in 1 point out of the first 2 weeks, how efficient is it either, so it's going to be, something that I think has been a theme of the team, for the last 2 years and will continue to be this year, is that, how much do you weigh, not just, lack of shots or lack of goals conceded, but also there's been a lot of talk about how, supposedly we're always winning the XG, the expected goals battles, and, all these different metrics besides wins and losses that are being used to say this is a team that's on the right track. I mean, if the results don't eventually come, then you never were on the right track. That the point of being on the right track is that it eventually leads you to, winning more often than not in the aggregate. And that still hasn't happened after 2 years and 2 weeks now. So we'll see what happens. But I think that's kind of the lay of the land as far as the topics Nathan brought up.
I think that there's, I don't know. I like weird that I'm suddenly so optimistic, I guess. But
that souvenir cup.
Yeah, I think I'm
you're
cashing in on.
You're drinking the Kool-Aid out of the souvenir cup.
They got rid of Crush at the stadium, which crushed me.
Oh wow!
No.
But the I feel like, there's a potential in this team maybe that I'm seeing maybe a little bit more in person. Maybe I'm also drinking the Friedlander Kool-Aid because he was with us in 202 for a large part of the game. But, I think a lot of it will have to come down to Struber or whoever's in charge of making decisions being confident. I think we said last episode that there are a lot of games that were really tight. The margins were really thin. That if I think we committed maybe a little bit to some ideas, even if they were failing, and not to necessarily make drastic changes and stay the course, and have belief in your football and how to play it, we could emerge as, like, I don't necessarily think like the division that I see is the highest ceiling of a team, we're not going to be world beaters out there playing this football maybe necessarily, but
we need to be though.
Yeah.
We need to win a trophy.
But
that's been kind of the bar that's been set for this year.
I think it's capable of winning a trophy, but I don't necessarily think it's gonna be like the ceiling of this team is like a dominant team. But like
from 2010 to 2018, it was like taken for granted that the assumption was that you would beat a team like Nashville at RBA every season. Like even. A team like Nashville, by that I mean a solid team, a good team that you might drop points at away from home. The expectation was still the Red Bulls are going to hold serve and get all 3 points.
And my hope
home.
is just that it's like it's early season and things like might not click for a while, and
it's early season. It's the early season for the other teams too, and this is supposed to be the year of continuity.
The continuity team.
But those other teams haven't really scored either. Like, right? That's what I mean. Like, I think that there's like staying the course is going to prove to be whether this team is good or like this method is good or not. And like if we start seeing major changes, like regardless of what happens, I think it's all set up to fail.
Stay the course. 4 more years. That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah. I think just on the latter half of the question, like talking about the defense, I mean, I would take Reyes and Nealis over Reyes and Long. So, I think from like a personnel perspective, like I was happy just to see that kind of return to normal. And I thought the defense was better in 2021 than it was in 2022. We gave up significantly less goals, and we had a really great stretch toward the last third of the season where we gave up like a handful, where it was just all 0-0-0-1 games, which is the same kind of attacking problems that we're having now. But I think the difference this time is that Struber's gotten everything on his wish list, right? He's gotten these multi-million-dollar additions to his attacking group. Anybody from Luquinhas to Morgan to Van Zier to Manuel, and getting rid of Klimala. So he has all this personnel and all the people that he's wanted. And for there to be such a flat start, I feel like is like there is a lot of reason to be pessimistic, and rather than being optimistic.
It's bizarre that there's been both this optimism, but also lingering underneath it this idea that we're still building or something.
Yeah,
it's been so
I feel
so
crazy,
bizarre.
almost like hearing those two. Yeah,
well, I mean, I think like in this season, it's like it does feel like every season has had like a reset. It shouldn't feel like that as a project. I think like as a way to grade this, but like I think as we're viewing this season, like there is like a progress to be had with this team.
Yeah, but we should see more progress.
Yeah,
I'll believe it when I see it. Yeah.
No, I agree, but like we have to see it.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like
I
I
think
think
as Cork
we
was
could
saying
see it.
earlier, it's year 3 of this project, and we were actually fairly.
It's not optimism time anymore. It's win now time. It's not I see potential in this. It's we got to get results.
It's like Minnesota's not a good team. We should beat them this weekend. There's no excuse.
Yeah. No, I agree. I'm saying like,
Score some fucking goals. Like what's
I'm
I'm
I'm saying
I'm not directing it at you.
Right,
I'm
I'm
saying
saying like what yeah, but what I'm viewing is like I'm like in this perspective, it's just like, oh, unfortunately, because we have no control over the powers that be, it's not like year 3 of a project. We're on year 2 of project 2 right now, almost.
I think we're on year 3 of project 3, or
Maybe,
year 1
yeah.
of project 3. Like, because as Cork was saying, it's the 3rd year. We were actually unusually. I got a little cranky, but we were pretty patient overall about 2021 and being like, all right, schedule. Like we kind of.
This is a reset year.
This is a reset. Everyone enjoyed. Also, we're gonna like we got good at being really sound defensively, and we're going to carry that over into the next year. For some reason, Struber seems to think that that's unrealistic to expect that, like Eric's theory last week, which I think is interesting, or 2 weeks ago. I think it's interesting and like the most convincing theory I've heard of like trying to explain Struber's own thinking. Eric was saying that Struber thought he needed to re-explain everything again last year, which does sort of would seem to explain his behavior. I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me, like why he thinks he needs to re-explain everything. Because also the team got worse at like focusing and like staying plugged in key moments.
Especially as the year went on.
Yeah. And, so far 180 minutes in, we haven't had a moment like that. The handball, I think, was just sort of bad luck and sort of a iffy call. So that's progress so far. As Cork was saying, it does seem like it's a little bit visible what the attacking plan is with like just waiting for someone to overlap. It still remains unsatisfyingly unclear to me how this Red Bulls team is supposed to score and assert itself on the game. I think, maybe Struber's trying to do like a Mourinho-esque type thing of like forcing or like waiting for the opponent to make a mistake. But we don't seem to be doing a very good job at forcing teams to make mistakes. Like teams are sort of successfully not making mistakes.
Riding it out.
Us. Yeah. And I would say like, I don't even think teams are like passing through the press all that well. Half the time it seems like it's simply
they're not creating shots. Like, yeah.
Right.
Like,
it's also like, it seems like they're just like, oh, okay, I'll make that pass out wide a little bit faster.
Yeah.
They don't like carve through us, but they just hurry up because like our press has been like sort of more isolated.
Atomized. Yeah.
Yeah. It's
one,
weird.
one guy running at one guy.
Right. So like, I don't know why, like there should have been more like preserved learning. I feel like I'm talking like him now. We have to preserve our learning moments.
Our teaching moments.
Yeah, the teaching moments need to be kept.
It's learning moments.
Learning moments.
You screwed it up. It's learning moments.
Teaching moments is almost a real phrase.
Right.
I learned real German, not Austrian German.
Apparently not.
Yeah. So
no, this is
that's right, not Austrian German.
It is. To answer Nathan's question, yes, I think it is just sort of mediocrity. It's also like not that complicated, dude. Garrett, it's just not that hard. Like it's not, you're not trying to solve chess. All right. It's
There's lots of terrible teams that trip over their dicks into getting shutouts sometimes.
Yeah, exactly.
You can attempt to score goals sometimes.
I mean, you did say like the press does seem kind of disjointed. What's the cliche? Like pressing is a team game, right? Like we don't really have like guys in that pocket where like when the guys like play a ball out, like there should be like a midfielder there to intercept it. We don't necessarily have that all the time, right?
Right. Yeah, we don't seem to be doing that. The press does seem weirdly more limited in some respects. Okay, that said, we're playing Minnesota this weekend. Away, right?
Yeah.
Is this our first time playing away at Minnesota?
No, it's the first time at their fancy new beer garden stadium.
Oh, how could I
but
forget the big blowout game that we had?
We played at the Brett Favre collarbone or concussion stadium when they were first an expansion team. And
God, 2017. Wow, they've
yeah,
been around for a
right?
sec.
Yeah, I weirdly remember that game like kind of vividly. I think it was Hassan and Dom's debut.
Oh, was it?
I'm thinking, but
Royer scored, right?
yeah,
It was a 3-0 win, and I just remember it being a very clear marker of like the best purple patch of that season.
Yeah,
Like we won like
yeah.
4 games in a row really convincingly, and it was like Jesse has adjusted and figured out a formation that works to get Sasha facilitating, and then the season kind of got jammed up in like a lower gear later on, but that was like the window that made us be like, this is the ceiling of this team, that like there's a proof of concept here. So I also remember that very clearly for some reason. For that reason, I guess.
I remember it looked hot as shit, and then I actually saw Andrew Visano Wadman post that working that game was like the hottest afternoon of his life. So hopefully the new stadium is a little bit nicer. I don't think anybody we know is going out there, even though that mini Minnesota away game has been like kind of a mythical project for many in Red Bulls land for the last few years.
I've been outside that stadium. I took a photo outside of it while nothing was going on.
You were in the middle of St. Paul and Minneapolis.
I was, yeah.
Wow.
The Airbnb I was at was actually really close, but it sure was a building in a parking lot.
Nice.
Yeah.
It's America, baby.
Yep. So
But yeah,
are Minnesota good?
Minnesota is the most salad team out in the Western Conference. Probably they always look like shit on paper. They have Heath, who's just kind of like a good old boy manager, and then they always wind up being like 4th or 5th in the West every single year. Like, yeah, and then you always hear every year that they'll like have stretches where they lose like 4 or 5 games in a row, but then by the end of the year, they always are like randomly mid-table. I mean, and it's another example of a team. I mean, obviously this is a little bit less, honestly, than Nashville and Orlando, where it's like if this Red Bulls team is going to be better than it's been the last couple of years, if this is finally the team that's going to perform Struber's preferred football, this should be a game we win.
You know what? I think it's time they let us just be in the Western Conference one year.
Just straight up,
like, yeah, all right, like just switch it up once in a while. Like every team is just gonna be on the West Coast. It's gonna be hard for us, but like it'll be a fun travel year.
Yeah. Minnesota is one of these teams that's only played 1 game, because I guess we have an odd amount of teams in the league right now. So they've beaten Dallas 1-0.
How did Apple let that happen?
I don't know. So yeah, 1-0 so far. Wow, Will Trapp is still around. Wow.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so I'm not too intimidated by them.
Is Ethan Finley still on that team? Is that
Pretty sure, yeah.
Wow.
Really? He's not like a guy who's retired. Was that real when Ethan Finley was good for a second? Was that just like
Columbus
a cheap
or whatever?
form of insanity? Like, what was up with that? That's bizarre in hindsight.
Just if you just loft the ball in the air, Kai Kamara will get his head on it. Like, seriously.
That's what that was.
Yeah.
Minnesota literally has a guy named Arriaga.
Yeah. Arriaga too.
I thought that was just I always thought that clip was funny because it seemed like it just made up like Latin sounding name that wasn't even real.
I think it might be Adiaga in the official like John Swartzwelder script, but yeah.
Yeah, I'm not too worried about this team. This would be good. Hey, a reunion with Kemar Lawrence as well.
Oh,
is playing.
Wow.
Another very solid Minnesota type signing.
Yeah.
Like that's all Minnesota is Will Trapps and
We did
Kamar
not-
Lawrence's and Brent Coleman's.
We did
and-
not bring up how DC United vibes Nashville's roster was.
Teal Bunbury, Fafa Pico.
Yeah.
Some sub came on that was
CJ Sapong.
CJ Sapong.
Dave Romney.
Dave Romney, Sean Davis. Wow, I'm gonna look up more.
Dax was literally on DC at one point.
John Lovitz's kid. There was also a guy named Marr, so Bill Maher's kid was there too. Obviously, yeah, Shaq Moore. I don't know. That's a name
Joe
that's been
Willis,
around for some reason.
Joe
But-
Willis.
Joe Willis, who was like I associate Joe Willis as being like the most like 2011 MLS player. So it's like bizarre to me that he's still in the league in 2023.
Did you know Joe Willis when you were at Houston?
No, I think that was after.
Wow.
I don't think he was playing for the team when I was working there for summer. But
Was that Tally Hall? Was that?
it was Tally Hall.
Wow.
Officer Tally?
Officer Hall.
Officer Hall. Yeah. Are we gonna win? I know some of us don't like predictions, but I feel like it's just the neatest way to wrap an episode.
Minnesota? Yeah. We should. We should. If we
Are we
don't.
gonna score a goal?
No.
Hey, let's go.
If we don't win, it's kind of a dire start to the season.
We're just gonna draw every game this season
Maybe.
from here on out, or
Chicago Fire
or concede
2014.
concede penalties in the box. That's it. Or score on penalties. That's our only MO here.
Yeah, I mean, there's been dire starts to the season before, like 2016.
Yeah.
And all we had to do to save that season was like the most like breakneck winning form you've ever fucking seen.
Yeah.
For the last few months. So as long as we just get that taken care of, we'll be fine.
If you heat up at the right time, right?
Right.
I will be pleasantly surprised if we score more than one goal.
Fair.
I'm feeling 0-0 here though.
Yep.
Feeling 0-0.
Yeah, it's another team that's probably pretty stylistically similar to Nashville and going to be playing in their own building. Although maybe that latter fact means they take a few more chances than a team like Nashville was willing to on Saturday. But we shall see. My prediction, I'll spice it up and say 1-1. How about that?
Ooh, I'm gonna say it's gonna be like a really ugly goal that we get in, but it's gonna be a 1-0.
Do you expect the 4-2-2-2-2 again? Same personnel?
Sure.
I have no reason not to.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. I guess
Eat your heart out.
can't
Gerard.
assume anyone's going to be fit. I'm going to assume that Barlow starts again, and then maybe we get Burke in as a sub. I would be pleasantly surprised if Burke
starts,
started.
yeah.
Yeah.
If Burke starts, we might win.
He's got it.
And
It's
we'll-
just.
yeah.
I feel like. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, that could be kind of the tarot card to read from the lineup at least before the game starts. Where if if Burke is starting, if Duncan is starting, then we kind of have confirmation that the last couple of weeks was them not being fully fit and having some issues in preseason, and that now we're going to see what the real starting 11 is. So
Man, I feel like there might be a situation where like Morgan's in the shit house and then he's just like not starting.
Or is he hurt? Or is he
we don't know. No, nobody's reporting on the team anymore.
thought
All of a sudden.
experiment?
Well, we'll see, but it would be. I just feel like there's like some reality where like Harper starts like on the way and the like upper part of the two, and then Duncan's in it right back.
Ooh.
I could see something like that.
Yeah.
That would be dark times.
I'm just
like we'd
thinking
enter
through
the dark times
If
that
Morgan is
happened.
hurt or if he's out of favor, who my preferred replacement would be, and I'm not totally sure. Maybe Amir, I guess. I don't know.
Honestly, I would just rather have Luquinhos on that side and someone else, maybe Harper or
Just do what we did in the second half.
yeah.
All right.
That's
Not a bad
probably
shot.
what he'll do.
Yeah.
Who knows though?
I mean, I agree. I think Luquinhos did look better on the other side. Maybe we just have two people who like play the same side, you know.
Yeah. Well, you heard it from us. Real exciting football to come. Prove us wrong. I'd hate it if I got owned. All right. Till then.
It's Alex!